Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon. We will start in 2 minutes, okay?
I have sent you my presentation.
Okay, so I will check right now. Microphone done.
Maafnya.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all had a refreshing evening yesterday and are ready for the second day of our session. Before exactly we will start today's agenda, let's take a moment to rewind and reflect on the highlights of the first day, what exactly we have discussed. I will try to summarize, then I will give the floor to our experts. They also will give their feedback for rewinding. Okay, so yesterday we have started with a warm welcome from Erasmus office, Aiza Karimovna. She started the speech and she had given explanation about HERE's network, why exactly we need technical assistance mission, what is the purpose, what is the mission, and what about the scope of that TAM. Then I have started also by presenting some key issues relevant to Uzbekistan higher education landscape, providing a clear context for our sessions, which reforms right now where exactly in Uzbekistan are taking place, some significant issues, some drawbacks, and what strategic achievements we had, yes, till that time in terms of quality assurance. Then it was being followed by Professor Francesca Grima's insightful presentation on quality management mechanisms, which exactly laid a solid foundation for understanding the essential process in ensuring academic excellence. There were some case studies from his exactly university, and we got really many beneficial insights. Then Professor Melita Kovasevic continued with a comprehensive exploration the role of accreditation in quality assurance, why it matters, what it entails, and how exactly it can be effectively implemented in all countries' national context. After that, we have our higher education reform expert in Uzbekistan, Pulat Khonakia. He spoke about HEMIS platform, yes? Exactly what digital platform was being implemented and what are some pros and cons and exactly what is the foundation of that HEMIS platform. We have discussed it in details. There were some questions, yes, to our expert. After interactive question and answer session with both Professor Francisco and Melita, we had the privilege of learning from the presentation of a case study and best practices shared by representatives. Yes, I mean by our Uzbek representative. And at the end, finally, Professor Melita, she closed the day by addressing the increasing demands for internationalization in universities, offering valuable perspectives for navigating these challenges. And there were some questions from YouTube channel and from Zoom chat, exactly about internationalization, about accreditation mechanisms, and the other exactly issues which were being discussed, yes, in the session. So I think it was really beneficial session yesterday, and all in all we have covered all exactly our gaps and some questions which we have, and today we will continue our discussion. So I will give the floor to our experts. If you want to add something for rewinding the first day, please, you are welcome.
Okay. Could you put my presentation?
Before exactly putting the presentation, maybe you would like to say something about the first day. I would like to ask you. If no, we can exactly turn to our first presentation.
Okay. So from Salam Alaikum, good morning. For me, the first day was very interesting, and I think that we have the opportunity of discussing about internal quality assurance system. I saw that if you are interested, you could have also either training or an accreditation or your quality system by our national agency. And today my presentation is going to be focused in the accreditation of PhD program and bachelor degrees, and I will show in deep the accreditation of a PhD with real samples, and then we will explore some of the process for bachelor and master that are very quite similar. We will show all the indicators and evidence because we don't have time, but you will have a feeling. Okay, so welcome everybody, and we can begin with the presentation when you want.
Thank you so much, Professor Francisco. Okay, Professor Melita, would you like to say something, or we can start the first presentation?
Yeah, I can just say a few words. First, I would like to thank you for everything that you prepared yesterday, and the colleague who was also presenting a very important part of digitalization process. I think it was really interesting for us to listen and to learn how the system works and what issues you have in front of you in Uzbekistan. For me personally, it was interesting because, as you know, or some colleagues know, I've been in Uzbekistan more than 10 years or around 10 years ago for the first time. And it is really a pleasure when you have a chance to follow some kind of developmental curve, which definitely is there. And this is really motivating. Secondly, what I'd like to say, considering everything that we presented and what we heard from you, I think that all of us, regardless which country we are coming from, we are facing many new challenges in higher education, and things are changing very quickly. So, it's like we all share again, regardless of the point where we are. And this was clear from our presentations, that we are also facing very similar issues. Maybe we respond to them in a little bit different way, depending where we are, what kind of institution, how big institution, etc. But it's like the developmental curve did not stop. It's not like, some universities in Europe, they are developed, they don't have those questions anymore. And then in Uzbekistan, you have more issues. It's like we're all facing, for example, problem of digitalization, something that we talked yesterday a little bit, and we will talk today again. We all face issues of quality assurance and quality culture, but of course we are dealing in a little bit different way. And I think that this is one of the nice things that are coming from this kind of meetings, because sharing experience, we are learning about each other, but at the same time, we're also sending signals that, you know, we do make some kind of global academic environment and we need to work together. And this was for me rewarding, and this is why I like to participate in this kind of missions, because I find it, in a way, I'm glad to share information I collected through my work and my experience, but at the same time, I also feel like I'm enriching my own experience by being exposed and listening, you know, what is happening in a different academic environment. So thank you. And in particular, I was also impressed with the number of colleagues coming from Uzbekistan. And I saw they were present in a little bit bigger number than today, but still today as well from a very different areas of Uzbekistan. So it's not only Tashkent or this part, but really across the whole Uzbekistan. And again, personally, I am always a little bit emotional when I see all the names of cities and places where which I have been visiting at some point of my career. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Exactly, there are some representatives from Kazakhstan, Kyrgyz Republic, and Turkmenistan as well. So not only Uzbekistan regions, yes, some Central Asian regions as well. That's why. Thank you so much for offering. Yes.
I would like to ask you, when we finish, we have to prepare a report. So if you can give us a list of the participant or the institution where they come from, it would be very, very useful for us to show the scope. But it's not common to have so many people and so many institutions in this kind of meeting. Normally, it's only one university, so we are quite surprised, and this is a very good impression for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, for our experts offering valuable perspectives for navigating the challenge in quality assurance. Exactly. And thank you also for participants. Yes, you are here with us in the second day for your engagement. And let us, in that case, yes, build some insights. And as we exactly move forward to the second day. So next on the agenda, okay, we have Professor Francisco Grima, who will exactly guide us through the some challenge, some intricacies of accrediting study programs at bachelor, master, and doctoral levels. And I think this exactly session promises to provide practical insights and actionable strategies to enhance the quality and recognition of higher education programs. Because exactly yesterday in question and answer period, we have some questions, yes, about accreditation, doctoral level. So it means many exactly participants are interested in that topic. So please, the floor is yours.
Okay. So the accreditation of official doctoral program is every 6 years. So next slide, please. So here you have the process. First, the higher education institution, like for example, a medical school, do a self-report, and there are public hearing with stakeholders, so everybody, a student, employer, professor, can do their input. Then the university, the school, they submit all the evidence and the report to the agency, and also the key performance indicator. Every regional agency in Spain has different system, but in each region is very standardized. So all the evidence has a number, a standard number, and the university, for example, a PhD in philosophy, in engineering, they have to submit all the evidence and the key performance indicator or the whole period. Also, it's important that the key performance indicator, they have to provide in table by gender, because now there is an important issue. There are the discipline like engineering, mathematics, science, technology, with a lower proportion of women, and the government want to have equality. Then the visiting committee study the evidence online and evaluate everything, and then they have a previous online meeting to study the difference and to do a draft. Then they visit the institution to have meeting with all the stakeholders, with the academic authorities, with the quality committee of the PhD program, with the students, professor, administrative staff, former alumni, employer, with everybody. And then they send the visiting committee, send the report to the agency, and the agency study the report in order that the report to be coherent with other reports. But it's not possible that the same university has 3 PhD programs and each commission say a different thing, or the possibility that there will be difference between universities. So the agency make this report coherent and send back to the university. And there is several possibilities. You have the accreditation for another 6 years, and everything is okay. They give you the authorization for 6 years, but you have to do some change, and next time they will look at this change. Or they give you the authorization, but conditional that you do some improvement, or they take out the authorization and the PhD program begin in spin-off, but and close the PhD program. Normally, this last thing is quite extreme. So we will deal now with all the dimension of the accreditation. I will present you a real case that last week I was in a university in Barcelona doing the accreditation on a PhD program. Next slide, please. So here we have the 5 dimensions: the quality of the training program, the public information, the internal quality assurance system, the adequacy of faculty and the effectiveness of the learning support system, and the quality of the results. Next slide. The quality of the training program has 2 dimensions. One is that the program has device to assure that the incoming student has a profile that is coherent with the program and the research line. And the program has the device that allow the supervision of the doctoral student and also the training activities. Next slide, please. Here you have the key performance indicator. One is the offer of place. The program have a number of PhD students that can be simultaneously in the program. If you have more PhD students than you are authorized, that is bad. Another indicator is the demand for places. If the demand is higher than the places, this is a good indicator. The number of students enrolled is the number of students is too low in relation with the number of offer of the place. That's a bad indicator, because something is not working and you don't attract students. Then the proportion of foreign students enrolled, this is an indicator of internationalization. The proportion of students that came from a master but from other universities. So this is an indicator that shows your capacity of attraction within the country. Also, the proportion of students enrolled part-time, you have, for example, medical doctors that are working in a hospital and students who are doing the PhD research the whole time. So this is an indicator. The proportion of students that have a scholarship for doing the thesis, the proportion of students according to the requirement and according to the research line. Those are the standard KPI. Next slide, please. The other is the relevance of the public information. The information that prospective students that are thinking to come into the program, the student, professors that may want to work at the university, employer have. Information normally is in the web. So you have two dimensions. One is that the information is updated and accessible, and the other are the information about the academic results, satisfaction of the student, etc. Next slide. Here you have the evidence. Those are the standard evidence. Next slide. And the KPI are student satisfaction with the public information, faculty satisfaction, and satisfaction or graduates. Some universities also include, but this is voluntary, satisfaction of the employer with the information. Next slide, please. And here, this is the dimension of the internal quality assurance, that the quality, the EQBS facilitate the doctoral program, the monitoring and accreditation that allow to collect all the information for the management of the program. And the system is periodically also reviewed to to analyze the system to have an improvement plan. Next slide. So here you have the list of evidence, improvement plan, minutes of the governing bodies, monitoring report, process, documents, scorecards. All the information has to be submitted. Next. There are two KPIs, proportion of improvement action not implementing, and proportion of achievement of objective associated with the scorecard indicator. Next slide. The fourth dimension is the adequacy of the teaching staff. That means that you have the enough professor with experience in the scientific field and in relation with the number of students. The maximum number of students that a professor can supervise is 5 students for professor. This is the maximum. It cannot be higher. Next slide. So the criteria are the faculty has research activity, the teaching staff is enough, sufficient for doing that, the doctoral program do have action to promote thesis supervision. For example, a professor that supervise doctoral dissertation, they may have a higher income, or they may have to give less dissertation. And another is the degree of participation of foreign faculty in supervising PhD, in international PhD. International PhD is a kind of PhD degree where the student has to spend 6 months abroad in any country of the world, and in the PhD committee that evaluates the dissertation, you need to have 2 foreign professors, and the dissertation has to be presented to the committee in 2 languages. For example, Spanish and English. So this will be the internationalization, the 4th dimension. Next slide, please. And the evidence is the number of research projects that have a principal investigator, who is a member of the faculty, participation of the professor in competitive research, publication, the foreign teaching staff, and training of the faculty in quality assurance, etc. Next slide. The KPI is the number of theses. Then the proportion of faculty who has supervised dissertation with a 6-year research evaluation alive. What is this thing of the 6-year research evaluation alive? Or the professor has to need need to have a research evaluation every 6 years. And they ask, this is voluntary, but to have a research evaluation, you need to publish 5 papers in journal with including the journal citation report every 6 years. So the proportion of professors in the PhD program that has one accreditation, I mean, one accreditation within the last 6 years, this is an indicator. I mean, within the last 6 years, it's not possible. 20 years ago, I passed an accreditation. So the proportion of the research professor that have this accreditation is an indicator. Next slide, please. So here you have an example of the indicator. If you have more than 75% of the faculty with this research activity, this is an A, excellent. If you have 60%, is a B. If you have less than 50%, is a C, so you will have to do some plans to make professor to do more research. If you have less than 5% of the professor with the research accreditation, you are in trouble. You have a D. So that is a danger for the program. Next slide. Then the fifth dimension is about learning support system, material resources, teaching like laboratories, teaching and learning support infrastructure, like libraries, computer, and service available to students to support learning process and also to facilitate the incorporation into the labor market. Next slide. In relation with the labor market, there is also a kind of PhD that is called industrial PhD. So this dissertation is done within enterprise, and normally instead of asking the student to publish paper, they ask them to publish to have patent. Also, something is in Cyrillic. The teaching staff, the service that are offered to the student, like housing, legal advice, scholarship, health, and material resources, like space for working, laboratories, scientific equipment. Next slide. And here you have the list of evidence. I will point out institutional action plan to facilitate labor market insertion, career guidance plans. Next slide. And here you have the key performance indicator, the student satisfaction with material resources and service, the satisfaction of thesis supervisor and tutor with the material resources and service, and also the satisfaction of the alumni, the graduates, with the resources and services. Next slide, please. The quality of the results. This has 4 dimensions. The first is that the learning outcome correspond with the objectives with the European qualification for doctoral program. The second is that the number of dissertation, the duration of the process, and the scientific research that came from the dissertation are coherent with the profile of the program. The third is the satisfaction of graduate and faculty with the training. And the fourth dimension is that the labor market insertion are adequate for the program. Next slide. Here you have, it's Spanish. Here you have the evidence that are the number of doctoral theses and the scientific result, like papers published in journal with high impact factor, or information about training activities and evaluation systems. Next slide. And here you have the number, the key performance indicator, the number of theses in full-time student, the number of part-time student, the average duration for the program, the proportion of program dropout, the proportion of PhD student with international mention, and also with industrial mention, the proportion of a student with research stage, and the last one is the occupancy rate, the proportion of graduates that are working, and if the job is suitable to the studies. Next slide, please. Okay, so I am going just to present the information about the visit that we have last week in one university in Barcelona. So for the university, it was a PhD in health science. The university first fill the evaluation report, submit all the evidence to the platform of the agency, and also the key performance indicator. We evaluate individually all the members of the committee, all the information. It's about 1 giga of data, and we have the preparatory meeting in advance to achieve an agreement, a consensus in our evaluation, and to prepare questions for the meetings. Next slide, please. Here you have the member of the committee. In the upper part, you have the areas. So there is a president, a professor, a student, and a methodology secretary, and with different areas and from different universities. Okay, next slide. So here you have this visit was last Friday, the 13th of December. It took only 1 day. Next slide. And here you have the calendar, the agenda. First, the arrival at the committee, welcome with the president or the deputy president of the university. Then 1 hour meeting with the academic authorities of the PhD program, the director of the program, the quality committee. Then another hour with a discussion with the professor. Then at 11:30, 30 minutes of interview with the administrative staff, because they are in charge of giving support to the PhD student. They also are responsible of the web, and then interview with employers to ask what they think of the profile of the PhD student is something that is not good and should be changed, or do they think that there are needs in the labor market that has to be addressed by the PhD program. Next slide. Then we have interview with the doctoral student and with former alumni. This is interesting because the former alumni, they are working in the labor market, and they can have a more realistic insight about the program that when you are a student. Then we have an open hearing that any person, either from university or outside of the university, can speak with us. Then we visit the facilities. In this case, as it was a PhD program, the medical school, we have a tour within the laboratories. Then we elaborate the conclusion, and we communicate the academic authorities the 3 or 4 stronger points of the program in our view, and these areas that they can improve. Now this week we are in the process of with our previous meeting and the information that we get from the interview with all the stakeholders. Then we will do a report, and we will send the report to a commission in the agency that is trying to homogenize the report, because it's not possible that we say, oh, you have 4 students by professor is too much, and the others say no, it's okay. So the commission in the agency over us review the report. Then the university, when the university receives the report, they may answer, and then after 1 month the report became official and is published in the web. Okay, so more or less this is the process of the PhD. Good. Now we go to the next slide, please. So this is the evaluation process of bachelor and master, and is every 6 years for bachelor, and master for master every 3 years. Now, as I said to you, this process takes a lot of time and money. Now we are in the process of the accreditation of the quality, the internal quality assurance system. So the university, each university that has his quality, her quality assurance system accredited will do all this process. And every 6 years you have a review of the quality system. Okay, next slide. As the process is the same, and the dimensions are the same, but they are different. Before going, the university has the report, they have the public hearing, and they submit the evidence to the agency, and the committee review all the documentation, and normally we ask them to submit all the documentation of 3 subjects. For example, in medicine could be anatomy, ophthalmology, and pediatrics. All the document material of 3 subjects, also information about the internship, and we ask them to send us normally 3 bachelor dissertation. One with the one with the highest score, the one with the lowest, and one in the middle. We ask them because several years ago they used to send us the 3 better. So with that we have an insight about that. Next slide. So here we have the quality of the program that has 4 dimensions. Next slide. The first is about the learning outcome, the name of the program, the denomination, the learning outcome, and where there is a regulated profession. That means a profession that has a legislation, either Spanish or the European Union, that they have to comply. No, okay, you cannot have a medical school and the student that doesn't study anatomy. So there are Spanish regulation, European Union. Next slide. In the previous, there are no indicator because normally all the university students pass this with a name. The second is the assessment of availability of the student profile, the admission criteria with equal opportunities, no discrimination, universal accessibility with people with disabilities, recognition of credit for persons that have a previous university degree or have work experience or mobility. In the case of master training complement, I make be an engineer and want to do MBA. They ask me to study some accounting, and the place offer. The number of place in the master or the bachelor has to be approved by the agency, taking into account the resources, and has to be authorized also by the regional or the national administration. Next slide. Here you have the evidence that the university has to submit. Here you have the key performance indicator. One is the proportion of students enrolled with the place available. Here is bad if you enroll more students than you have the authorization, but if you have few students, it's also a bad indicator. Some region or if you have several years with a reduced number of students, they will close the program or they will ask you to change. Then the proportion of students that have to do complementary courses, proportion of students that are working, a proportion of students who are foreign. Next slide. Here are the evidence for the deployment of curriculum. Here we ask the minutes of the meeting, the teaching guide for the subject, the teaching plan of the degrees, timetable, guidelines of how to do the bachelor or master dissertation. Also, credit recognition. We said that if a student have another university degree, or she has work, or she has participated as representative of the student, or are involved in a elite sport like the Olympic game, the university gives credit for that. So we ask the university of the list or the credit, and the key performance indicator is the proportion of the student with recognized professional experience. As we say at the beginning, our key performance indicator should be provided by the sex. Next slide, please. Then the regulation, the criteria for recruitment of professor, the criteria for hiring administrative staff, the relation of the program with the SDG, the Sustainable Development Goal of the United Nations, to have a program for effective equality between men and women, protocol of prevention of sexual harassment, also protocol for students with special educative needs, and criteria for access and admission of students. Next slide, please. And here you have the key performance indicator, proportion of action directly related with the SDG. For example, when the student do the PhD, the bachelor or the master dissertation, they have to sign, to mark what SDG they use, the proportion of men and women enrolled in in the center degree courses. There are many women in health and humanities, many men in engineering, and the objective is to have more women study science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So the university is trying to do dissemination between this group. Also, the proportion of first generation students at the university. That means the proportion of a student at the university that their parents went to the university. The proportion of students with special educational needs, like, for example, blind people, deaf people, or people with a student with autism or Asperger syndrome or Down syndrome. The proportion of complaints that the university has received in relation with SDG, diversity, gender equality. We ask all the university to have a mail drop, maybe electronic or physical, where each one can comply, and the complaint is confidential, and that is used to the quality improvement for any problem. Number of students attending attention, like psychological or orientation service, and number of dissemination of action of the university to try, for example, to attract women to the engineering, technology, etc. Next slide. This is the quality result of the training program. I am trying to fit to the time schedule, so we cannot see all the indicator, but you have an idea. You have here the key performance indicator for teaching methodology, and you have the student satisfaction and the satisfaction of the alumni. You will see some number, E50. That means that all the key performance indicators are standardized. In this case, the regional agency have a guideline with evidence and the standard. And then you have the academic performance, you have the dropout rate, the year rate, that would be the rate performance, the GPA, the rate performance average, the graduation rate, the average duration of the study, the drop route in the first year, the employment rate, the rate of work with the student match, because it could be possible that all the former graduates are working, but they are engineers and they are working in a supermarket. So the satisfaction of the graduate, the satisfaction of the student, the satisfaction of the teaching staff, employer, etc. You have to do this year by year by gender. So the committee may ask, oh, even your satisfaction is not good, but we can see that you are in a growing trend, or your satisfaction is good, but your trend is decreasing, so you will have to take measures to change that. Next slide. And there are other issues that I am not going to develop, but I will comment that they are very typical in our evaluation. One is the internship. The student go to work in hospital, in enterprise, and who is the person that in the enterprise supervise the student, what is the coordination with the universities. Another is coordination between subjects in the bachelor program. The coordination is horizontal, so within the same subject, how the professor coordinates in order to avoid repetition. We ask the student, are there repetition in the subject? Because sometimes all the professors say the same. And also vertical coordination. So if you are studying in internal medicine, cardiology, did they teach you the anatomy of the heart that you need to understand cardiology? So also to try to avoid that in the first year in the medical school in anatomy, you study the heart. In the second year in physiology, you study the heart again. In the third year in pathology, you study the heart. In the fourth year in internal medicine, you study the heart. No, so try to coordinate. And we ask also for evidence, because it's not valid to say, well, we have the office each other and we see each other, or my wife is also a professor and we speak at home of the subject. No, we need evidence. Also, the other question is the bachelor master thesis. What information has the student about how it will be evaluated? The calendar, is the calendar equilibrated? Do the professor follow the calendar? And also the evaluation of the teaching syllabus. It's very important in general that before the start of the course, all the students can have access to the teaching syllabus with the calendar and how will they evaluate. And so those are the questions that we ask the student. And that's all, because I think that I go 5 minutes more. So thank you, and if you have any question, I think that you will have an idea of what we do. Thank you very much. Shukran.
Thank you so much for really interesting and detailed presentation. I think right now it is a high time for a question and answer period, because I also have some questions, yes, in terms of presentation, your explanation. Firstly, we will ask from the audience, yes, from our participants, from our stakeholders who are in Zoom, yes. If you have any questions, please feel free. You can write it in Zoom chat, or you can raise your hand and give the question by yourself. So till the others will be brave to give the question, I will give my questions, okay? Yes. Firstly, are there some specific measures to ensure academic freedom and research integrity in accredited programs, which you have spoken about?
Sorry?
One more, yes. Are there specific measures to ensure academic freedom and research integrity in accredited programs, which you have spoken about?
Research freedom we have because the Spanish Constitution give research freedom to the professor, no? So there are no problem. And with integrity, or the students have to sign a document when they enroll at the university that we will follow academic integrity rules, and all the homework, bachelor dissertation, PhD dissertation are submitted to a computer, to a plagiarism detector software. So we use, many Spanish universities use Tunipin, but there are several brands. So the area of avoid plagiarism no, is very important. Also to avoid cheating in the examination, etc.
Okay, thank you. And also in your presentation, I have seen exactly many items related with student performance. So I'm interested how exactly the feedback and data from students, alumni, and employers integrated into accreditation process.
Well, we have the feedback in the meeting with the employer and the student, and we incorporate to our findings. So we have information about the surveys, the satisfaction surveys. Normally, it could be a questionnaire, maybe with 100 questions. There is something studying the satisfaction questionnaire. Then we ask in the interview. In the interview, we ask for the funding to know if there is it was only a finding or is a pattern. No, it could be an anecdotic finding, but if this is a pattern, it's more serious. Okay, so we have several sources. So interviews are confidential. So when you have the student, we tell the student this interview confidential. We might have a meeting with 10 students. We won't collect data of the person who said that, but this will go to the agency and then to the university.
Okay. Thank you. And one more, like, interesting question about Uzbek university. There are some Uzbek universities.
There's
Sorry?
one question. Also, the agencies are asking to the universities to have in the internal quality assurance system of each degree, master, to have former student and to have also employer then. Sorry.
Oh.
This is your question.
Thank you. And are there some Uzbek universities applying for accreditation through the agencies in your country? Have you heard about it?
No, I saw the day before yesterday the list, and all were from South America. So I put you the map. No, so maybe because it's more easy for them. So 2 days ago there were no universities from your country applying for that.
Okay. Zoom'da savol bor shekilli.
So
Okay.
it was from Mexico to Chile, no? From the middle of America, Central America to South America.
And yesterday there was also one question about accreditation process, which can be tailored for doctoral programs to ensure both academic rigor and professional relevance. But I think you have covered it in your presentation, but it was like a yesterday's question, yes.
Yes. So to have this, I think that is the more important is the input of the employer. So to have the employer within the committees, the quality committees, and to have the employer surveys to the employer and to have the employers in the evaluation that made the PhD program to improve.
Okay. Exactly in Zoom chat, there is some feedback, no questions. They are expressing their gratitude for detailed information on diverse mechanisms to provide high quality education. There are like they express their gratitude for your presentation and valuable information. Okay.
And I think that it could be in your country that maybe the Ministry of Universities of Education could elaborate list of evidence or key performance indicator that could help to the universities instead of each university to be working in their KPI.
Yes, right now, KPI exactly mechanism was being implemented in all universities, yes, in our country, but still they have their own criteria how to assess it. They will take into consideration the university background, the direction, the number of students, the number of exactly what mission they are doing, yes. That's why KPI, it was being implemented, but it is like a specific to each context at university. But accreditation, international accreditation also from exactly Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, there was a request till 2032, exactly all universities should get international accreditation for at least 2 directions. So like universities, they are starting, but still there are so many agencies, accreditation agencies. And it is also, let's say, you will be in a dilemma also, yes, which accreditation agency you should apply for. And anyway, your presentation today's and yesterday's exactly from with Melita. And I think it will be really valuable insight to think a little bit, and it helped to navigate, yes, into that complexities and so many new information. And right now we have background also, yes, how to start, what exactly we should take into account. Exactly, is university have enough data? University is ready to start this action or not, let's say.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Okay, so no questions, yes. In that case, so what we will do, Melita, what do you think? Do we need a short break or not? Or we will start your presentation? Your microphone is off, it seems, yes.
Sorry, I forgot to turn it on. Yeah, it's fine with me. I mean, we can go on if you want.
We can go on, yes? Okay, we don't need a short break to stretch, yes? Okay. So in that case, right now we will speak about challenges of digitalization in higher education institutions. It will be presented by Professor Melita Kovasevic. This session will address how digital transformation impacts academic staff and students, highlighting both opportunities and challenges. So please, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Could you just put the presentation on? Okay, so till we start with the slides, I'd just like to say at the very beginning that maybe I will not present in a way, I mean, just to show you what it could be done, because what I also learned yesterday from presentation, you're already using lots of different possibilities that digitalization actually provide us with. And I'd like to have my presentation a little bit in the framework of imposing certain issues that we need somehow to be a little bit critical and to look from a different perspective what actually digitalization means for us. So next slide, please. So what I'm going to discuss, I will talk a little bit, what is actually traditional classroom. And I'm asking the question because I think we also need to reflect on this. Do we still need it? Then what are the benefits of technology? How technology can enhance quality, or does it enhance the quality? And more or less, what are the key challenges when we take all those into consideration? So next slide, please. I mean, one thing that we know that actually technology is transforming the way we live our lives. I mean, and technology is not only something that has an impact on education, on higher education. Actually, everything what we do is somehow the reflection of the existing digitalization process. And we are getting more and more to the point that regardless if you look into young people or middle-aged or old people, more and more we will see everyone with a mobile. Everyone is using all kinds of gadgets or remote control for different things. So I mean, it's like we are not the same as we was maybe 20 years ago. Of course, we also hear different things. I mean, different reactions to use of digitalization. And we have a lot of discussion on TV, in media, in newspapers, whatever, in schools. It's like, is it good? How does it affect our lives? How does it affect our mental health? How it should be used in different contexts, etc. So, I mean, we are on one side cannot live anymore without different aspects of digitalization. On the other side, we are still asking many different questions. And of course, very simple ones. We can say, do we like it? And probably we will get very different replies. We can ask, can we ignore it? I think it's clear that we cannot ignore it because it became a part of our life, as already said a couple of times. And is it for better? This is again something that we could hear very different arguments and very different arguments in different contexts. So again, as humans, as intellectuals, as an intelligent individuals, we should not ignore those questions. We also need to deal with them. Next slide. Hello. Yeah, thank you. So what we can ask if we focus more on classrooms, I mean on higher education or any education aspect, we can look at the different things and say, okay, we have a smart class. What does it mean? How do we go about this? We also could talk about, is it chalk really outdated? Do we now really prefer whiteboard or blackboard should be out? We talk about different e-learning systems, platforms, and something again we heard a little bit yesterday about this. We talk about very interactive digital sessions, and the fact is that students are more and more engaged. So those are kind of facts that we have around us, and I would say none of them we should ignore completely, but none of them should be also taken as granted and not to have certain reflection. I can just comment very shortly on like when we talk about the whiteboard, blackboard, smart board, which I did not put on this slide, and say, okay, chalk is not something that we need anymore. My husband is, for example, molecular biologist, and he likes to use, and he says it's still important to use sometimes the chalk and do it on the blackboard and to kind of draw certain things because this is the way that we process, and it's different than just showing three-dimensional or any kind of slides in a classroom. So again, we can argue this from different perspectives, but we should not take it as a black and white world. Next slide, please. So one thing is that we also be aware that right now in an environment of schools or education or higher education, we actually have at the same time, in the same space, on the same tasks, and in the same teaching and learning process, people of different generations that actually some of them are born with very high level of digitalization, and some of them are very much born with a time when we only had a chalk and blackboard. And I usually call it, and I say we have analog generation and we have a digital generation. And you know, if we tell some things to digital generation, how things we've been doing, or it has been done in an analog time, it's almost not understandable to them. I watched on the TV recently, there was some kind of experiment, and they asked young people like age of 16 to make a phone call using analog phone. And when they needed to dial numbers by rotating the middle part on the phone, and when they got the number that they need to call, they didn't know how to do these rotations. They were just not practically in terms of movements very good, and they just couldn't make the phone call. I would say to analog generation, this sounds ridiculous, like, come on, that's so simple. But if you look from the perspective of digital generation, this is something they don't understand. How did it work? Of course, they can learn, but it's not something natural. They will do it automatically. And we have to be aware that we have those individuals belonging to different generations and or different exposure, life exposure to different aspects of digitalization. And actually, this must affect the environment as well. I mean, it's not one aspect only, and this sometimes could be benefit, this sometimes could give us some certain advantages, but I'm sure also sometimes is an issue to be discussed. So one thing that we need to know, that students are those digital generation now, every single student. Very often they are much better in doing quickly or learning new possibilities that digitalization give than some professors, some teachers. And I would say that this is not something to be offended. This is not something that should be taken as something negative, but as many other things in life, we just have to accept that there are different perspectives and that we need to somehow to adjust. And again, I like to stress more than once that it's not something is good and something is bad, but it's different, and we have to see how to deal with this difference. So what we need in general, looking from teaching perspective, we need some kind of proper way to guide students in using all the digital equipment and options that digitalization provide. We need also to think of how can we convert books and other written materials to PDFs. I mean, any kind that we can scan, we can use it in a different way. So it's, again, we need certain skills, but I would say before skills, we need awareness. And this is not the same thing, you know. Sometimes we cannot even develop skills if you're not aware. It's like if you have a problem, the first step in order to resolve the problem or to solve the problem is actually to become aware that there is a problem. If we're not aware that there is a problem, we will just ignore it. And of course, we can do all kinds of things like we are doing right now, workshop or webinars. So those are just some examples that we know all quite well. But if you think of the array of possibilities nowadays, it's a much richer and it's different than it used to be some years ago. Next slide, please. So I would like to say a few things related directly to digitalization. When we think of what I call traditional classroom, I would say traditional classroom should not disappear. And of course, someone could say, yes, you're saying this because you're a senior professor and you belong, and yes, I do belong to analog generation, although I was also exposed quite early to digitalization process in my academic career. But, you know, I don't think that we are ready, or I don't think that based on research findings, especially when we talk about how our brain functions, how we process information, if you talk about neural science, etc., I don't think that the traditional classroom should completely disappear. Why I'm stressing this? Because sometimes I had experience, or I saw it, that in some contexts, people think, if you want to be modern, if you want to follow this, we should completely change and move to something else. We need to have, whatever we do as, again, academics or intellectuals, we should have an arguments why we are doing something. And those arguments could not be subjective, or should not be subjective, should not be based only on our personal preferences, but again, they need to be anchored. So, they need to be based on facts from research. So what are the relevance of oral lectures, for example? Because this is what we are doing right now, is also some kind of oral, not lectures, but presentations. Oral presentations for students and people who are in educational process are extremely important for supporting and practicing concentration. And without concentration, we cannot actually achieve and implement many intellectual tasks. It's a way to learn about argumentation. And then again, if you read and if you search for literature, you will see it's a different way when we have oral, when we're exposed to oral lectures or presentations than if not. We support and develop different cognitive skills. We develop communicative competence, enlarge our attention capacity, etc. So I will not say that, the digitalization will necessarily destroy all of this. But again, if you read the literature and if you look like, for example, what is the problem today with many children in elementary and high school, that they have extremely low attention capacity. They skip very quickly from one subject to another, and they could not go in depth of any of information that they are getting. So if you check there, you'll find easily a lot of research that it tells us that, of course, again, not against digitalization, not against implementing and using all the gadgets and all the possibilities that digitalization gives us, but we have to be also careful and to know when and what and how to use it. Next slide, please. So, what can we expect when we talk about traditional classroom? Of course, I already mentioned shift of teaching generations. And I usually, when I talk about academic leadership, which is one of the topics that I like and I'm very much involved, I always say that universities will be quite different when there will be complete shift of generations. Right now, we still have in every single university across the world, we have both generations. We have teaching generations that belong to analog world and those who are born with digitalization. The shift and the way of approaching things will probably affect universities or higher education institutions differently when there will be only digital generation present. Second thing is that we will also have a shift of new kind of students, because younger generation are getting exposed more and more. And I will not talk today too much, although I will maybe mention at the end AI, but this is again something very provocative for our behavior and use of digitalization. And young generation being born in this AI context, artificial intelligence context, will definitely bring another wind, even when we talk about students today. We will need to develop, I guess, different learning paradigms. Again, it's like we have to be aware of that. And I would say there are already educational experts who are working on many different and new approaches in teaching and learning process. But I think that it will still happen much more than it was happening in last 10 or 15 years. The question is always, and it's a big challenge, how to reach and maintain the knowledge. And knowledge must be differentiated from the quantity of information. And this is probably what right now is happening, that we have this contradiction and maybe kind of confusing factor that everyone is exposed to a huge number of information. But then we can ask again as intellectuals, as academics, but is this knowledge? or how those information can be used. And I don't think there is a simple and only one possible answer. I was reading one research that was presented recently. They tested, they had a survey for young people, like adolescent people, quite big sample. And then it was information. First was one finding that they're spending huge amount of time with mobiles and other gadgets, like something like 7 hours per day. So, I mean, this is almost like a full working time being in front or using a mobile. And then there was a question, what do they think about future education? They said, we do not need future education because we can easily reach all the information we need. And I think that this is, for me, as again, being a senior professor, and maybe because I was also I'm belonging to analog generation, I think this is an alarm, because, what we need to think and understand and be aware of the serious, profound difference between the quantity of information and knowledge, or quantity of information and know how to use those information, or quantity of information and know how to differentiate good versus bad information, truthful versus false information. So, I mean, many, many things about this. Okay, next slide, please. So, one of the things when we talk about digitalization, I think that we need to be aware that actually our task is to teach about critical thinking, because critical thinking is something that helps us in all the questions that I raised just a minute ago, to learn, how to pick up between good and bad information, how to have a standpoint about those information, how to be able to make personal judgments. Is it something correct or not correct, etc. And so it's like nowadays, with so many information, maybe it's also not only important to have some kind of fixed knowledge, because knowledge is changing also extremely quickly. And this is, again, what we can see in the development, or it's a kind of in correlation with the development of different aspects of digitalization. But we also need to kind of teach young people how to approach information and how to use them, and how to adapt quickly, because what we are teaching them today, in 5 years or even less, it will be very much different. And one day when they leave university, they will still need to be able to adapt continuously. And this is a kind of skill and competence that we need to provide them with. So we need to really think always and all the time, I would say, as a teachers, and this is probably one of the change tasks that we have in front of us. What are the pros and cons for different teaching approaches? It's like we cannot anymore take one approach and say, okay, this is what I think is good, and then to close our eyes and do it for the next 10 years, because the social context is changing quickly. The kind of implementation of our skills and competencies is also changing, or ask us to change very quickly. So, I mean, we need to be aware of that, and we need to kind of also implement critical thinking continuously about the whole process of teaching and learning. Next slide, please. So, traditional classroom or not traditional classroom, what we actually want to achieve, one thing is to disseminate info and knowledge. And nowadays, in a digital world, this dissemination is somehow challenged, or it also needs to be different. We need to stimulate creative thinking, not critical, but critical and creative. Because again, I mean, with quantity of new information that are really coming out every day, we need to prepare our students how they can be creative and use those information. Someone has a non-turned off mic, please. Yeah, thank you. So this is another thing. Then we need to help young people to become independent thinkers. Again, why? Because they are going to be exposed to more and more new information while in the educational process, but also soon as they leave it and through their life. And they need to be capable of digesting those information, to select which one is a good, and to make their own opinions. And that's not an easy task. I would say it's not an easy task for teachers, I mean, for academics, because we talk about higher education. But I would also say it's not easy for individuals, because somehow we all, as humans, take the easy way to do something. Sometimes it's a question and pressure of time. It's a pressure of society. So, I mean, this is really not an easy task for academics, I mean, for teachers, what to provide their students with. We also need to prepare young people for jobs that we cannot even think of. And if we make some kind of introspective thinking, and if you look 10 or 20 or 25 years ago, today we have a jobs, or we approach to different tasks quite differently, something that we could not even imagine 20, 30 years ago. And this is something that we need to encounter as well. Today we are giving students, and we make programs, and we say, okay, this is what the market is looking for, but we actually don't know what will the market looking for in 15 years from now. And we will still have young people, because 15 years from now, some of our nowadays students will be young people of 35, 37 years old. They will still have a long time in front of them to be productive workers, whatever is their profession, but we cannot predict what they will need it and how they will do their jobs, or there will be completely new jobs. So I would say the task of preparing young people for this life in front of them is very demanding. It's very different than it used to be. And of course, we need to think, and this is what digitalization could help us a lot in a very positive way and bring many benefits, that we need to reach people who do not have access of education, like people in urban areas or well-organized rural areas. There are many young people living in a very distant and remote places. And this is where digitalization definitely brings many positive things. Next slide, please. So, of course, we can talk about many benefits, but benefits do not come by themselves. It's like we need to make and to implement many changes. And my first sentence with kind of trying to get your attention is, it says, even simple changes require complex restructuring. And this is like, nowadays we somehow adjusted ourselves to have workshops and do everything online. But again, try to remember when COVID happened and when we were doing across world first workshops, how many issues we had that we were not sure how to organize it, how to do it. Technology was an issue. There were just many things that we were facing. So it's like even simple things ask us to really think, how to do it properly. I remember when we started to have online meetings in some organizations, they would make some kind of guideline how to behave and what to do or what not to do while having online meetings. So it's like evidently it was noticed that participants are doing, or speakers are doing, all kinds of things that are not functioning well, and that that this application needed some kind of guidelines how to do it better, how to do it appropriately. It's also important that somehow students and teachers and of course administrative staff work together, because again, everything is a part of the same system. And you cannot do it separately if everyone is not prepared and somehow well equipped with skills and to know what and how to do it. I think it's important to remember that technology is a tool, not a solution. And that's a big difference. When we apply technology And I can give you again example of teaching, for example, via internet, via applications online. Teaching doing online must be completely differently organized and than teaching in a real space. So it's not like we have a solution and we just do the same thing using digitalization. No, digitalization is a tool, and now how to do it, which is actually solution, this is something that we need to create and to take into account many factors. And of course, if you want to do it properly, we need to respect and we need to implement knowledge, experience, pedagogical or educational practice, because this will actually lead us that we will help students to learn, to kind of increase their learning and intellectual capability and capacity. Okay, next one, please. When we look for the benefits, but on the side of students, we also need to be aware that nowadays students communicate, function, do things differently than students, I would not say my generation students, I would say students 10 years ago, and not to talk about 20 years ago. So they do lots of social networking. Again, we can have different opinions about social networking. Again, I can just give you an example that you probably heard that last month, or just a few weeks ago, in Australia, there is a new law that young people, so adolescents and children, cannot use social networking till the age of 16. So it's forbidden by law. I'm not going to go into goods on pros and cons for this kind of law and decision. That's not the point. But the point is that we do have a different experiences individually and even nationally, as given an example in Australia. The fact is that social networking is present, that young people are involved, especially our students, and we need to take this into account. Collaborative networking is something also which is an important benefit, but because using different e-platforms, students can much easier be collaborative and collaborate both with teachers and students. Again, it was different before. We can individualize many things when approaching to different students' needs, their capacities. And this is what we can even do it not on the level of on the vertical level, but horizontal, which means in one class we can have easily we can manage differences among students by using different aspects of digitalization. Students are generally more involved. Students report very often they have a positive attitudes and they feel like they have a positive impact on their learning experience. They like it. They're also better prepared for something that will come after graduation, because again, the world is now saturated with digitalization. And finally, there is a research that shows that using digitalization, it helps to be more innovative and that they can solve the problems differently, but also easier, and which might be extremely important once when they become employed in different contexts. Next, please. If you look for the teachers' benefits, next one. It's the next one. Yeah, if you look what are the benefits for teachers, we can also say that teachers have many benefits using and applying different aspects of digitalization. They can be more creative, so they can develop different ways of representing or processing the teaching. They can enrich their teaching environment. Classes might be more interesting, especially still remembering that students are different. They could be differently engaged the way that they like it. And teachers have a chance to somehow learn and to know their students better, and because of that to give them better support. So it's like, it's not anymore just the classroom with 50 or 100 people sitting in a group, but because of using different digital platforms and differently developed tasks, there are many other benefits for teachers as well. Next one, please. We can talk about what are the benefits for curriculum as well, because curriculum is a part of the whole system. So it's like we cannot have the same curriculum as we had it before and then just apply or use or implement different aspects of digitalization. The fact is that new curriculums need to be better developed so they can be better reflected in the different aspects of using digitalization. Curriculum could be, because of that, more interesting for young people who, again, approach to information and knowledge differently. Curriculums are usually more flexible now because of same things. They could be, or they are better fitted to the objectives, because we know that each curriculum or each curriculum of individual course needs to have objectives and allocated competencies, so somehow we can make those fitting much better. And of course, as we already said, from the student's perspective, it is better adjusted to student needs. Again, there is a huge variety of students, and let's not also forget that nowadays teaching is or universities are much more open to big number of students. So we have a mass education, which actually is also reflected on the composition of students. So we have a huge variety of students, and digitalization will help us to adapt to those requirements. Of course, which I think is clear and that we all experience, it's a much rich interaction of students and teachers, again, because we implement different tools, we have a different task, we can communicate much faster. And because of all of this, also, we can make within curriculum much more individual learning programs and to respect those differences among students. So it seems like, again, if you think about the benefits, firstly, we talk about some other aspects. The new academic environment, learning and teaching environment is much more colorful than it used to be. Okay, next one. If you look from the institution perspective, and if you think what does it mean for the institution, institution is also deeply involved. All those things cannot happen without the institution. Which, when we talk about institution, we could also talk about the leadership and how leadership actually leads the institution to provide everything what has been said so far. So one thing is that some things are related to cost or to funding or to budget. And this is, of course, also reflected if you look at the different universities across different parts of the world. It's not like for nothing that some universities have a very high technology equipment. They are involved very much in all the processes, and in some other parts of the world is less. So, we have to be aware of certain demands and possible limitations. Institutions also, it will be allowed to define and manage main impact areas. In other words, institution can, according to its strategy, pick up some priorities and to see where and how to use it, what is the most important aspect of digitalization at a particular point of time. Again, digitalization is a very generic and very general term. Digitalization can be implemented and, let's say, branched out in a very different ways within the institutional system. And it's up to the institution, considering all the capacities, but also possible constraints, to decide the priorities and how to do it. Definitely, digitalization within the institution allows much more efficient, faster, and more effective communication if it's well organized. we should not forget that efficiency, effectiveness are not necessarily coming together. Some things are more efficient. So in terms of time, it happens faster, but it's not for sure that it happens in a better way. So, I mean, this is something also to be aware and to check. It also can reach much wider range of different stakeholders at the same time. And definitely, this is a clear benefit of digitalization process. So if you look, next slide, please. If you look in some kind of quality enhancement perspective, from the quality enhancement perspective, what is important, and this comes as some kind of package, you know, it's like, it's very important. It's very hard to reach all those objectives and to somehow have the most efficient and effective way of implementing digitalization if we somehow don't take into consideration different aspects. One thing that leadership needs to have a good vision, and then with this comes strategy, action plan, and everything what is needed to lead the institution. On the other side, technology is, as we said, a tool. It could be implemented on some levels or all levels, or be used in all the activities of the institution. But what is important, not just to bring technology and to have, let's say, experts who will know how to do it. It's very important to develop the culture. So the whole institution needs to work with all the stakeholders and all the activities to develop the culture of accepting and being a part of digitalization. And then, of course, to do that, we need proper processes, methodologies. Both processes and methodologies in a digitalized institutional settings are quite different than processes and methodologies that used to be in this world without such strong or without digitalization. Again, if you try to be introspective and if you try to look in your micro setting, let's say your department or your office or your field, or if you look in the whole system on institutional national level, you might identify that some of the components that I'm missing, or that I'm mentioning, are there and functioning relatively well, but you can see that something is missing, and then you can also identify when actually causes certain problems or certain issues. So, I mean, again, we need to be aware that digitalization is a benefit, it's a tool, but requires and penetrates in all aspects of institutional life. Next slide. So on the side of quality enhancement, as I already mentioned, institution needs strategy. It needs to identify what are the relevant areas for that particular institution. And we need to be aware that what is, for example, relevant for institution A does not need to be the same for the institution B, for many different reasons. And of course, we can talk about geographical differences, I mean, or development or money, but we can talk also on a national level that different institutions could have focus on different areas, or relevant, or different things might be relevant for them. It is very important to identify priorities. And again, it's not easy, because when we start talking about priorities, and if the institution is relatively big, we will very often hear voices that different voices will have different priorities. So again, it's a really skill of the leadership to somehow balance those different needs and to make, again, good list of priorities, because this will be reflected, or it will come out from the strategy. And of course, it will make possible that things are put in place. And of course, we need to think of also what do we need, or what do we want to deliver as a result of all those changes. And again, you know, this depends on the field, this depends on the type of institutions, this depends on the areas of research, this depends a lot on human capacity. So what do we need for this? I mean, to meet all those wishful thinking that we need on the institutional level, if we want to reach a proper quality or to enhance the quality process, institution needs a vision, which I already mentioned. it needs a financial support. Things could not be changed. Any kind of reform or any kind of profound changes within the system needs funding. With no funding cannot happen, especially in the digitalization process, which is in principle, it's financially demanding. And finally, it needs engineering support. So it's like, digitalization will be applied at very different departments with very different skills and experts, but not in that field. So it's like we need very strong engineering support. Okay, next slide. I was already mentioned a couple of times culture, which is very important for the quality and enhancement of the quality. So implementation and usage of technology needs to be in a way used regularly. And this actually, in order to happen, this actually pushes or kind of triggers development of culture. So it's like, not only the person A is using this, or only younger teacher is using that, or only students from technical fields or whatever, it's important that is a really learning, digital learning environment where everyone is involved, from administration, teachers, students, everyone. And I'm putting here, this is not easy. You will always find in every institution there will be some resistance, and there will be some teachers, professors who will feel, I put it here, intimidated, uncomfortable, try to avoid, try to use it very little, etc. And then again, we need to respect the differences. You remember what I said at the beginning. At the beginning, we have different generations with different exposure to digitalization. But at the same time, we also need to find a way how to support everyone. Why I'm stressing that is not easy? Because very often I see, or I saw many presentations with lots of nice wording, with lots of nice applications, nice tools, etc. It's like a catalog. What is there in the world and what can be used? But when it comes to the real space, when it comes to the real institutional life, then actually inside everyone is faced with very different issues, different constraints, etc. So I think that we have to be real. It's like, you go to the shop and you see many nice things, but you don't buy everything. You pick up, okay, this is very nice, but does not fit to me, or does not fit to my apartment, or it's too expensive, and I don't want to invest some money. So I always kind of warn that digitalization, yes, it's our reality. Yes, we need it. Yes, it has lots of benefits. Yes, it could support quality, but we also need to be selective, and we need to know why something, what it will bring, and how to work with that. Okay, next slide, please. This is just an example in the context of quality when we talk about processes and methodology. First thing that we work in I put it here, new social collaboration spaces. So it's like the way to reach others and to work together. It's a very different today than it was 10 years ago. And this actually changed our way of thinking. This changed our approaches. And this actually gave us solid ground how to develop different methodology. And I just gave some examples. This is not a topic. We're not going into all the details how to do the teaching differently. But all those 4 things that I put it here, like flipped learning, adaptive learning, project-based, personalized, etc., would not be possible if there is no digitalization. Okay, so this is actually done or developed because we have new tools and we have a new context in which we do teaching and the process of teaching. Next slide, please. In addition to this, we can also look, how the quality could be enhanced. We can do teaching in a very different way. So I put it here again, just some of possibilities. We could have classes outside the classroom. Again, this was not impossible 10 years ago or 15 years ago. We have range of different learning models. We mentioned some, but there are many more of them. This is a topic for itself. We can connect teachers and experts and students outside of regular class very easily with no problem. And this is, again, example what we are doing right now. This was not possible. I was mentioning already a couple of times that I was coming to Uzbekistan, and I think my first arrival to Uzbekistan was something like more than 10 years ago. At that time, we could not do and reach each other like this as we are doing today and yesterday. It was completely different. We were sending emails, and this was the top. And even the sending the emails was not as smooth as it today. We cannot connect with other universities. We can share contents, courses. Again, it was not possible 15, 20 years ago. And again, for younger generation, it sounds very abstract because, they cannot imagine that the world was functioning. And it was functioning differently, but it was functioning. So today is completely different. We can go and open the course and to see, what they're doing in whatever university, Imperial College London, or we can go to Brussels or anywhere else. We do have much more networking, so we are much more connected than we were before. For example, Francisco and myself, we know each other from a different context. When I was asked to do the workshop, if I'm interested to do the workshop that we are doing right now, I was asked, Melita, do you know someone who would like or who could work together with you in this workshop? And I said, oh, yes, I know Francisco. And I sent an email to Francisco, and Francisco replied, and everything was set up, let's say, in a few hours. This networking was not so present and so clearly articulated and functioning 10, 15 years ago or 20 years ago. We also have now easy communication between the different campuses within the same university or between universities. And all this helps actually to have a very high level of cooperation. We cooperate today on everything. We can cooperate having administration working together, students, teachers, presidents. So it's a really cooperation that not only who can do it, but how much and what kind of work could be done in cooperation. Okay, next one, please. Okay, what is important in using digitalization, also not to forget, but digitalization help us to make students interested in what we are teaching through the whole lecture. And I put it that this is a talent, this is a skill, this is what we can say it art. And digitalization definitely help us, although traditional teaching can also work together. And we have to remember that teaching is always two-way communication. This is why sometimes I'm not so much in a favor of having, for example, online presentations, because it is a still limited two-way communication. Although we see each other, we hear each other, but somehow it's much easier to communicate and to receive a non-verbal communicational signals, etc., when we are in this real space and work together. But this is just one of the things that we can mention. Next slide, please. Okay, if we want to have digitalization, and if we really want to implement it in the process of teaching and learning, we need to have a good infrastructure. Okay, so it's like, I'm not going to talk too much about this, but we need to have a proper infrastructure, enough computers, good internet, etc. And I think that this is nowadays becoming less and less issue at majority of universities or the biggest part of the world, but still, still sometimes we forget about this. And this is something to keep in mind. Okay, next slide. one of the aspects that the digitalization brings us, it's actually that it's a different approach to teaching. So, I mean, maybe when we talk about digitalization and challenges for academic staff, for teachers, we really need to think that we cannot have the same approach to teaching just to use a little bit of opportunities that digitalization gives. So student creates the content, and this is quite different than it used to be. We know nowadays we have something what is called collaborative learning. Again, something, I mean, this is a topic for itself, but it's quite different than we had it before. We have active learning, which means that students actively participate in the process of creating the content, reacting on the content. We have personal learning networks, which means we can work in the group. Again, it's much easier and done via technology, application of technology. We have a mobile learning. Again, if you think about distance learning or, I mean, any other aspects. Competency learning, again, it's a different, because applying, we can do competencies and develop competencies, definitely. And of course, we have a social learning, because we work together much more than we used to be. If we go back 30 years ago, or I don't know how many years ago, when we had it ex cathedra, when we had a teacher standing in front of the class and group of 50, 100, 300 students sitting, each of them, yes, in the same space, but not talking, not communicating, not working together, not bringing their opinions, just listening to the lecture. This is now a completely different world. But we have to also be prepared for that. We need to learn how to do it. It's not just to make a statement. Now we have computers, we have internet, we have a platform, we have tools. We need to know how to do it. And this is what is part which is demanding for the institution. This is what is demanding for teachers. And I would say the students are a kind of group of, or the part of stakeholders that the most easily they will adapt and take this, because they're in a new context. They don't have a previous history and previous experiences. They just take it what they get and what is there, what is part of their life. But the institution has to make changes. Professors, teachers have to make changes. And this needs to be coordinated. Okay, next one. So what are the challenges? Many of them. And again, I will not talk about all of them. I will not, we don't have time to this, but but I will just mention and put some of them on the table, and you can also think for yourself and discuss maybe in a follow-up what is a specific or what is in particular interesting for you as for your institution or your department. So university is changing a lot. And I think that you're also witnessing serious changes at your higher education institutions. Social context is changing. I don't think I need to elaborate this. We know that the world nowadays is completely different than it was 20 years ago. Pace of change is changing. Sometimes I hear people say, well, things were happening before as well. People were pros and cons when the first car appeared. Yes, that's true. But the pace of change is much faster nowadays. Just if you look in the AI, which was released for public, I think now is 2 years, if I'm not wrong. It was October, I think, 22. Nowadays, when we see how much influenced and how much is implemented everywhere, is extremely fast paced. Learning models changing, and this is something we already discussed. Access to information is changing. I remember when I was told by my university computer center, oh, we are going to use Google. And they were trying to tell me what is Google. And I knew that although I was among the first one using computers, I was among the first one using emails. When I heard about Google for the first time, and when they were telling me that I will be able to get all the information I need very quickly, and what Google will provide, I thought, what are they talking about? How it's possible? And nowadays we know how quickly we talk to friends, family, students, and we have a question, what is this? We put in a mobile or laptop, or we open internet page and we get elaborated answer in a few seconds. So this is completely different. And finally, and of course, because of that, not just that we have an access to information, but the quantity of information, I would say it's too big. It's too big for us to digest. And actually, honestly, sometimes I think we don't need so many information. And then again, going back to one of my previous slides, it's an art, it's a skill, it's a knowledge to know how to use those information and what information to take and how to deal with this flood of information. Okay. And then, of course, as a general question, we can say, if we accept that we have all those challenges and they're all happening more or less at the same time, simultaneously, the question is how to handle all those facts. What does it mean for us, again, as individuals, but also what does it mean for us as institutions? And probably respond would have some overlap, but there will be also some differences depending who is trying to answer to those questions. Next slide, please. So challenges, but I would say technology should enable transformation of learning environments. So it's like, because of change world, we need also to change and to have a little bit different learning environment than it used to be. And we need to put special efforts to develop new instructional methods. And I would say to combine them with more traditional learning environments. Maybe what I'm saying now, 10, 20 years from now, will be old-fashioned and not accepted anymore. I don't know. We will see. But I think with experience on one side and research findings on the other side, I think that the best answer is to know how to balance old and new. How to combine them and how to get the best possible answer. Next slide, please. In the context of those challenges, we should ask ourselves or our institutions or ourselves as individuals, again, different questions. And I don't think that there is a straightforward answer to this. And I don't think that we should give the answer too quickly, because again, we need to apply critical thinking. And we should not only learn our students to apply critical thinking, but we have to be critical thinkers as well when we accept and when we implement changes. So for example, is like question, should every university teacher implement all those methods? If you ask me, but you might have a different answer. I would say, yes, every teacher should implement some of the methods, but not necessarily all of the methods. Should we all be engaged? I put an example of MOOCs or flipped classrooms or any other methodology. I don't think this is necessary, depending what is our subject, depending, who are the students, depending what do we want to achieve, which level of education we are. But do we need to understand and do we need to know what is MOOC or flipped classroom? Yes, we should. It's like the same thing 30 years ago, maybe not all the professors are using blackboard and chalk in the same quantities equally frequently. Maybe some of them never. But if you ask every teacher at that time, do you know what is a chalk and blackboard and how to use them? Everyone will give you a positive answer. And I put it also here, something that I already mentioned, is the traditional lecture past? My preference would be to say no, but is it a prevalent? Also no. So again, we need to have arguments why, what, when, but not to have just to divide ourselves in a black and white arguments. Next one. And I'm getting closely to the end. This is just one slide because I thought it's impossible to talk today about digitalization, at least not to mention once or twice AI. but I also don't want to spend too much time on AI because this could be the topic for itself. For example, I'm very much involved in doctoral education in Europe. Last year, we had a whole conference, which was only on doctoral education and how the AI will influence or what kind of impact will have on doctoral education in the future. So, I mean, the AI is present everywhere, and it's in a real sector, talking about different jobs and the impact of AI. And it's also present in our teachings and in higher education institutions. So again, we can ask, is it a tool? And what kind of tools we have? So it's not AI is, again, generic term. As it says, is artificial intelligence. There are many pros and cons for different aspects of AI. What I think it's important as a starting point to understand what is AI. Of course, those who are from the IT sector, anyone who is working with the technology knows it much more than I do or what I can say. But I still also know that many people do not understand how the AI works. So it's like, in principle, there is an algorithm fed by information. More information, there will be more different or better outcome of result that AI can produce. So we should understand basic principles of AI in order to understand basic benefits or advantages and possible disadvantages. We might have a lots of dilemmas. My question is, do we? And what are they? How to use it, for example, in the classroom? Should we use it in a classroom? Does it change our approach to students, for example, in exams? What if you give them an essay as an exam and student can use, for example, AI to help, etc. Ethics. I mean, if we students, whoever is using AI to help produce paper, exam, questions, whatever, what is ethical? Where the ethics stops, like what to tell students how to deal with AI. New challenges for teachers and students. The same way of teaching, the same way of grading, the same way, probably not, because AI will change a lot of things. For example, there is even one discussion, like if you have a PhD, if you have a doctorate or master thesis, usually you have some kind of theoretical introduction part. Now AI can produce it quickly. And some people will argue, okay, why to spend time? We can do it the other way around. And the other will say, no, this is not good because searching for literature and doing selection and interpreting is also a way of, in between other things, doing critical thinking. And it's also a process of learning. So, I mean, again, different arguments. Institutional regulations. There was intention even at some institutions to say no, AI is not allowed, students cannot use it. Can we protect it? Probably not, because students will use it at home anyway. Do I think we should have regulations? Maybe for some things, but not to forbid, because this is a part of our life as well as everything else. How to deal with plagiarism? There are like different tools that check for the plagiarism in general, I mean, for everything else. But now there is also, in those tools are being built in the part that checks for if AI was used to prepare certain documents. So again, we're dealing with many new issues, and definitely AI brings a lot of benefits. I'm not putting all of this, but I'm just trying to kind of raise awareness that we do have very important part of or result or impact of new aspect of digitalization. AI is becoming very frequently present everywhere, and probably in our everyday life in many places is AI that we are not even aware of. But I also think that we need to be critical, that we need to implement our critical thinking, that we have to look in very different factors, very different arguments, and to also develop our approach how to deal with AI in an educational process. Here in the next couple of slides, I will not read too much, but there are different, next slide, please. I have 2 or 3 slides before I'm closing down. So the first one is, I put in some citation of different people, of different thinkers. What does it mean to have digitalization and technology in our system? The fact is that we need to, in order to make any kind of our decision and how to do it and what does it mean, that to know that there is a lot of research, that there are some barriers how to use it. There are some limitations, but we just need to learn about this, and we need to still to embrace technology as a part of our life. On the second slide, can you go further? Hello. Okay. It says in the second citation, it says this generation of students is all about convenience. So this is kind of negative statement where we kind of complain how the student approach process. And it says if they don't want to go to class, why should they? This is kind of reply. If they don't want to wait until 3 p.m. for office hours, why can't the instructor have virtual office hours? Is it the whole mentality of anytime, anywhere? It's very much a part of our culture, and especially this generation. I mean, I pick up this citation because it gives you a little bit different arguments and approach to the same thing. And again, you know, I'm not making my own judgment, but I think that we need to adapt. We need to, to embrace technology as a part of life. The world will not go backwards. It will go up front with more technology, but we need to balance and know how to use it, and at the same time also to support and develop other skills with our students as well. So what is my intention with these couple of slides? To give you some arguments, again, to think and to not to be kind of only to have pros and only cons, but to look that we can approach every of those statements from different perspectives. But the fact is that we cannot avoid digitalization and use of technology. And my last slide, that it says something, please, can you go on? Which actually reflects, and it's a kind of message for institutions, for leaders, and it says those leaders who are still of the mind that only modest incremental shifts are necessary, in other words, who think they can just implement a little bit of something, but they don't need to digitalize the whole space and institutions, it says, could miss the next generation of teaching and learning. In other words, again, we need to be careful, we need to be thoughtful, we need to balance and combine, but at the same time, we have to accept that we live in the world of technology. We live in a world when everything is affected or embraced by digitalization, and higher education institutions definitely need to adapt to this fact as well. So thank you very much, and I am ready for your questions if there are any questions.
Thank you so much. I'd like to want to thank Professor Melissa for really insightful presentation, really detailed one. It seems that we, all of us, know exactly about digitization, but still there are so many invisible factors which we should take aware of. And right now it is clear that digitization, it is essential for modernizing all higher educational institutions, yes, in all parts of the world. But it will benefit both staff and students. We can see it from the presentation of our expert, because it enhances accessibility, efficiency, and innovation. However, as exactly Professor Melita mentioned, it is also important to consider the other side of the coin, yes? Digitization can present challenges such as bridging the digital divide, ensuring equitable access to technology, and addressing need, yes, for digital literacy among both staff and students. So balancing these aspects, it's critical sometimes to ensure that digitization achieves full potential without unintended consequences. So, and I think exactly your presentation and right now discussion also will highlight the importance of strategic implementation, combining technological advancement with policies that focus on inclusivity and adaptability. So anyway, thank you once again. And right now it is an overall discussion. Firstly, if you have any questions, the audience, yes, for Professor Melita, you are welcome. But we have, I will look through the chat now. About this one? Firstly about digitization, but there are some questions about metrics, how exactly they you evaluate graduates accomplishment. It will be a little bit later. So, let me read it. Okay. No, it is the question about the next steps of the conference. Exactly, the participant is really excited to express gratitude about extensive profit from the seminar. Great thanks to Professor Melita and Francisco for such fruitful presentation that have been shared to brush up the sides into that issues. And the participant was personally brushed up the ideas, and it was assured that all participants gained much experience and got the answers to their question. So exactly, I would like to clarify about next conference. It is exactly the second day of technical assistant mission. Right now, there will be discussion. Then we will do some overall feedback. Then exactly we can finish, yes, today's event. But we have two more technical assistant missions. It is at other universities, and Erasmus office representative, Bono Abdusalomova, at the end, she will announce about it. Okay. So there is one question. What role does digitization play in ensuring equitable access to education, particularly in regions with limited resources?
Sorry?
So what exactly the role does digitization play in ensuring equitable access to education, particularly in regions with limited resources?
Yeah, I think that as I said it before, you know, this is digitalization actually brings a lot of benefits for this kind of context. There are many examples outside Europe and outside Asia, in countries in remote places like in Africa, where actually digitalization made possible access for very, very remote areas. And it was interesting process, for example, in Africa, where actually lots of educational process was done by using mobiles, not even computers, but mobiles, because this is one of the, let's say, gadgets that are available to everyone. So I think going back to Central Asia and Europe, definitely digitalization makes possible education for people who live in remote areas. And I would say, I guess that for some universities, this could be one of important missions to make education accessible for this group of people.
Okay. Thank you. One more question. How exactly can faculty and students be better supported in adapting to digitalization without compromising quality and engagement?
But first thing is, as I already mentioned, it's not like, we keep everything as we used to have and just bring computers in the classroom or using internet. So this is not a way. In order to be better in preserving quality or further develop, enhance quality, as I used in my slides, is like to learn or to have new skills, to know how to work with technology, which means, again, as I put it on one of my slides, it's important to have engineering support, so people who will be available and employed in institutions to serve and to help to support all the technology in the building, I mean in the institution, depending how big and what, and it's like, and to have a particular trainings. I can give you an example. At my university, we have a computer center which serves, I mean, we're a huge university. We have 75,000 students. We have 7,000 employers. We have continuous trainings, workshops, support. On university level, and besides that, we have also, each institution has their own IT people who are helping and literally helping when something is stuck, to organizing local workshops, trainings, etc. In particular, every beginning of academic year. So it's in other words, support of the system is extremely important in people who will provide help and education, in and in infrastructure that can follow, that is again accessible to everyone.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you. And exactly one more question. How do you evaluate your graduates' accomplishments after they began their professional activity in every 5 years or 10 years? It's a little bit general question, not in terms of digitization, let's say.
We have alumni, and we have them again on the level of university and level of different faculties. And through alumni, we collect different information. We have annual conferences, we have some newsletters, we have contacts with them for different occasions and different follow-ups. We don't have a regular 5 and 10 years, something like this. I mean, we, at least I'm not aware, maybe some faculties have, but it's like, this is mainly information that we are getting is through alumni. Of course, we do have sometimes certain surveys with employers, and this is also the other way around, to learn, how our graduates function in a real sector, by getting information from the employers.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Can I ask the opinion of Professor Francisco? What about what exactly in your case? How you use that metrics, yes, among graduates? Sorry, yes, your microphone, yes, it is off. Can you switch it on? Mm-hmm.
What metric do you mean?
So there was a question: how exactly your university evaluate graduates' accomplishments after they began professional life?
Yes.
Let's say 5 years,
Yes,
10 years.
I answer already in the chat, and I will tell. We do an evaluation of the graduate of the last 5 years in the interview. And we evaluate publication, patents, also teaching or research position like a postdoc, and work position. Those are the things that we evaluate.
Okay. Thank you so much. So the others, some comment, feedback, it is only positive remarks, yes? But if exactly you have some questions, the participants, you can raise your hand and you are welcome.
Hello?
Yes, please, Professor.
Hello, Prof. Do you hear me? Can you hear me, Professor?
Yes.
Arvada? Thank
You are
you.
welcome.
Thank you. Yes, I am very happy and glad to participate and listen to all presentations of here experts and very interesting, deep and, comprehensive. So I enjoyed very much and got lots of valuable information for myself and for my students, especially using digital technology and also AI technology. I think AI now is entering, into our practice. I saw one in my, program in the computer that a robot, a person through AI program, you communicate and discuss and dispute with him. So AI robot can get millions of files information within some seconds, and sum up and conclude and give up generalized conclusions, information to you. It does maybe thousands of, speeder than a person. In that case, maybe we need assistance of AI. So leading professors, teachers, maybe also students to discuss, to brainstorm, and train himself, personal training. I think this must be very important aspect of modern technological education, so that we handle all these technologies easily and quickly. On the other side is the problem of, for example, in Asia, for example, in our country and maybe neighboring countries, is the barrier of language barrier. All information, more than 80% of information, is provided and disseminated in English. You can easily have access to all information in English if you know it. And if you don't know, you can't get information. For example, our older teachers, highly experienced teachers, they know classical, knowledge and teaching methodologies, but modern, they cannot obtain and cannot learn quickly because of the lack of these languages, especially English. Through English, you have access to all this information. If you don't know English, you can't have access to this variety of information, disseminated through internet. So it's possible in that case. So these AI can help you quickly translating and communicating more than 90 languages of the world, It can communicate with you in Uzbek, in Russian, in Farsi, in Arabic, in Chinese, and different languages. So I think maybe we should have some internet programmers or AI engineers and make some specialists to help or to assist professors and students to learn how to use this AI. This will be very, very useful. And on the other hand, already Elon Musk warned the danger of AI in the future. So can we handle this communicating? Can we have in the future friendly communication and relations with AI, if in case we'll have some disputes and we may not might not agree with AI, and AI may not agree with us. How can we handle and handle these kind of disputes and come to a common agreement or consent with each other? So what kind of this may cause some rise of lots of problems in the future. So what is your opinion? Are you using these AI assistants? For example, Professor Melita and or Professor Grima, how many assistants you have to help you to get your lecture prepared, and delivered to your audience, to your
Yes.
students, for example, 1, 2, maybe, and do you have AI already as an assistant to you?
Yes. We have limitation. For example, do you know how many paper has been published on COVID-19? There are 400,000 scientific paper published. You cannot read. You have to live for 2,000 years to be able to do that. So artificial intelligence can help with that. Also, artificial intelligence doesn't think like us. So the way that the artificial intelligence think is in the probability of the next word. For example, you say London is the capital of the United, and the artificial intelligence say kingdom, or to be, and the artificial intelligence say to be or not to be. So there are problems with hallucination. So sometimes the artificial intelligence invent things that don't exist. We have there are universities in France that they have banned the use of artificial intelligence, but the student will have that in the real world later. So we have to train the student that you may use artificial intelligence, but at the end of the day, you have the responsibility for what you are writing. For example, we have problem with lawyers that they did write a document for the court, and the artificial intelligence invented a legislation, sentence, and they didn't exist. So we have also been. I published recently evaluating with the examination that physicians do before the residence. We passed the examination to the artificial intelligence. It did well with the image, like X-ray was not very good, but we also examined what consequence could have when the artificial intelligence has a failure, what consequence for the patient. But I think that the artificial intelligence is very useful in some areas. For example, in writing in English. So you can write for me to write a paper in English, for example, maybe it took me either 2 months or spend money in a translator. Now I write in Spanish, and then I ask the software to translate into English. So that are leveling us, no? Or last year I was in a commission of the European Union that evaluate research project with very important research project, about 10 or 20 million euros each project. One of the evaluators in the meeting say, I have put a D to several projects because they were written with with artificial intelligence. And the political office from the European Union say, doesn't matter if you use ChatGPT for writing the project or you give 20,000 euros to a consulting company to elaborate the project. You have to evaluate the project. No matter if you do with artificial intelligence or whatever. And another area important is that the artificial intelligence may have the same bias related with the document that we feed. For example, I told my students, most of them are women, and I have a doctoral student. He's male and he's from Africa, and I say if we put all the curriculum or the student or the 40 students of the class, and then I submit the curriculum of 5, and I tell the student, if you write in your curriculum, I was a leader of the Boy Scout, the machine will say that most of the students are female, so it will give you less points. So we have to be careful because artificial intelligence may increase the bias. Also, you can use with the student so that the student, this is a report that I have prepared with ChatGPT, a technical report. So if I am an enterprise and I hire you, you will have to do something better than this, okay? So I think that we have to prepare the next generation to use these tools.
Yeah, one case here, students, our modern students, may know this technology, especially computer, internet, how to have access to information, how to get information, or Google information, or Wikipedia information, and they immediately get lots of variants of responses, answers, to your question, to the theme, to the topic. And sometimes they surpass their teachers, their professors. In that case, what would you do? For example, lacking knowledge of language, maybe but modern students, they know they are English, they are learning foreign languages, and they are very fluent, and sometimes they know better than some of our maybe senior professors and teachers, and also leading experts, but they have some problems with this language, and that's why students may have more knowledge. It is better that they know knowledge, but on the other hand, they may put such questions and our professors may not be able to answer, to respond them. Do you have such cases already? Because Europe is close to very speedy development. And in this case, have you faced or encountered any such problems when students know much better than your professors?
Yes, sometimes the student have more knowledge on technology than the professor, and we learn also from them. Because
yes, that's why it's better today, as mentioned in your lectures and in the lecture of Professor Melita, that that we should use more dialogue, brainstorming, and also discussions, new modern methods of, presenting our lectures. This is not only lecturing, but in using methods of interactive method of brainstorming, discussions, critical thinking, and also AI comes to your assistance. Wide use of AI technologies. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but if I just may say, I agree with everything that Francisco said. Just one or two reflections to what you said. We should not be afraid of not knowing everything. Nowadays, increase of journals, a number of published papers, etc., is far beyond capability that one person reads everything and knows everything. And the question is, what is the knowledge? It's like not knowing what is published in one paper. It doesn't mean, it's additional information to the corpus of long knowledge that someone has. So concretely one professor. So first thing, I think that we should be able as teachers, and this is also to learn our students to say, I don't know. I can check, I can look, or something. So it's like providing an answer, not no, I don't think it's anything wrong with that. This is the first thing. Secondly, collecting information and getting different resources give you the different quantity and quality of information is also, not knowledge, because the question is how you're going to interpret and connect those information that you're getting. They could come from different theoretical background, they could come from different whatever, it's like, so the quantity of information itself, this is just the surface. And how to combine and how to look, this is what we need. And this goes back to knowledge or to kind of critical thinking. Besides this, what Francisco mentioned, one, and I don't know if somehow caught your ear, but it's like with AI, there is something what is called hallucination. And it's the fact that because of the algorithms and the way how it works, they produce you things that sound, they tell you certain information that sounds as logical and okay, but they're actually not true. They're not real ones. And this is what, we need to use with some cautious, at least where is AI now, that the quantity of information does not develop immediately knowledge. And another thing, what is happening with AI, when you ask them questions, they give you very often, depending what kind of questions and which tool you're using, they provide you with many references that don't exist. So it's like you have a reference and reference does not exist. So this is why we need to be familiarized and we need to learn about all those systems. It's not enough to have a computer and kind of plug in. Just one more information. I work with my students. I teach them to use AI, and they give a task. They get a task to use AI to get a response, and we analyze and we further develop what we are doing with the information that I got it. So again, this is a two-way street. I think that we need also to be in a position to say, look, I'm also not familiar with AI. I'm also playing. I'm also trying. But I know this, and that, and let's do it together. Let's try it. What is good? What is not? So it's a process. There is no magic, there is an AI and there is a direct reply to that. It's not how it works. Even in translation with English, you have to be careful because they translate you and they use terminology that you would not prefer. It's not the best one. But yes, of course, it helps a lot, as Francisco said, saves you a month of work or whatever, money for translation, etc. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Next person with our professor as well. Exactly. This problem, AI, ChatGPT, it has two sides. As coin has two sides. The most important thing, disadvantages shouldn't prevail advantages. Yes, here, all in all. And also, there are some commands in Zoom chat. Our participants, they also discussing some exactly articles which they have read about ChatGPT, about pros and cons of that issue. So this issue, it's really problematic and it is dilemma in some cases. As you have given your own case studies from your own experience, how exactly you deal with that, in which cases does it work, in which cases vice versa. Yes, that there is no effective results at all. So all in all, yes, thank you for discussion. And as there is a last part of our today's session, I would like to give overall what exactly we have done for 2 days. So we have a great opportunity to explore best practices and strategies in quality assurance, gaining insights into frameworks that exactly helps us drive excellence in education. It doesn't matter whether it is a Central Asian model, whether it's a European model. All in all, we have gained which helps to drive excellence in that problem. And the key takeaway is importance of collaboration, not only in shaping the knowledge, but also in ensuring localization of materials to meet the specific needs of our institutions. We have mentioned about it in chat that all presentation and dissemination materials will be translated into Uzbek by our university professors and distributed to higher education institutions through our ministry. And it will ensure that these valuable resources reach the broader academic community effectively. And in our follow-up, which exactly will be after 1 week, we will continue exactly all the topics which was being discussed within 2 days in Uzbek, and we will share some best practices in terms of digitization, internationalization, and a mechanism of accreditation as well. So I think the most important thing after that sessions, after such events, we should continue to apply what we have learned, as Melita had mentioned about WH questions, what, where, when, why. Yes, we exactly should know where we can use this material, which purpose. And so all these factors, pragmatic factors, they are really important in perceiving and in adapting all these materials. And I would like here to give my, firstly, extend personally heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished experts, to Professor Melita Kovasevic and to Professor Francisco Grima. Their valuable insights and commitment to supporting Uzbekistan's higher education reforms efforts, and also special thanks to Uzbek representatives who are really active for 2 days in Zoom, yes, for giving some questions, for your dedication to advancing quality assurance in their institutions, because your contributions have been invaluable in making these events as a success, because your feedback is really important, yes. Anyway, thank you so much. And I would like to give the final remarks to our experts, please. Yes, to Professor Melita and Professor Francisco.
Yeah, okay. I thought that Francisco is going to say something first, so
first you.
yeah, without repeating. Yeah, without repeating everything what you said, that I think that we both appreciate participation of a quite big number of participants from Uzbekistan, and as we learned from some other countries as well. We hope, and I hope, that we provided you with some information that you can use it. As I always say, and I think it's not like that we are saying that I can say from my perspective, it's not that I was giving information that I think that is the only truth. This is coming from concrete experience as academic and what is happening or what I learned at the different institutions. And of course, it's up to you and all Uzbek colleagues to see, what does it fit to your context, how you can implement certain things, or to discuss it. It's more like the background for some discussions and further steps to be taken by the institutions. And personally, I would also like to, Nazlia, to thank you, because you were really great in organizing everything and in communication. And this always helps when you prepared these kind of meetings on distance. It gives you some kind of feeling of security and that everything goes smoothly. I wish you all and your institutions the best further development. And since we are already in December and close to New Year, I wish you very good professional and personal 2025. And thank you for being with us today.
Thank you too.
I would like to say thank you to the organized institution for inviting us. For us has been an honor to participate in this meeting. I was quite amazed and surprised of knowing the interest and the participation. I wish you success in your effort to develop the quality of teaching at the universities. And also you have our contact, so if we can help you in anything, feel to contact with us. And also, as Professor Melita said, I wish you a happy new year and success in your professional endeavor. Thank you very much. I really appreciate being with you all these days.
Okay, thank you so much. And as I have mentioned at in the middle of today's session, the last remarks, I would like to give the floor to Bono Abdusalomova, representative of Erasmus office. She would like to announce, some information. Bono, are you here?
Yes, thank you. And first of all, I would like to share and extend my heartfelt gratitude for all the experts we have had for 2 days, Professor Francisco, Professor Melita, you, Professor Nazlia, and also we have heard from Professor Bulatkhon Lutfulayev, and I think all the been provided are not only applicable in higher education, but in general in all the areas of our lives, and especially in terms of AI and in terms of quality assurance. And on this positive note, I would like to share that this is not the final TAM of this year. We have 2 more upcoming TAMs, which are also going to be conducted online. So you will be able to join from your region as well. So the next one is going to be on 24th and 25th of December on the topic higher education institutions and industry. And it is going to be a great continuation of the cluster meeting we have had back in October in terms of how Erasmus Plus projects have been working with industry. And I think that everything is going to be applicable here as well. And also we're going to continue with greening, since it is one of the priorities both in EU and Uzbekistan, and especially this year, it is one of the priorities for capacity building in higher education. We're going to be talking about higher education concepts and strategies in higher education, and it is going to be a regional TAM as well. So we invite all the colleagues from neighboring countries on 26th and 27th of December. And also it has been mentioned several times, we're going to have follow-up of these TAMs. So we have 3 sessions which are going to be conducted in Uzbek online, and we're going to discuss each of the TAM separately. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. So in that case, we can finish today's our session. Once again, thank you all and happy coming New Year. Yes. Okay.
Bye.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay.
Happy
Bye-bye.
New Year too. Happy Christmas and Happy New Year.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All
Thank
of
you.
you. Yes. Yes.
Mikrofon.